Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga teaches right living. Karma Yoga is the yoga of activity. Karma Yoga teaches the right relation towards people and the right action in the ordinary circumstances of life. Karma Yoga teaches how to become a yogi in life without going into the desert or entering a school of yogis. Karma Yoga is a necessary supplement to all other yogas. Only with the help of Karma Yoga can a man always remember his aim and never lose sight of it. Without Karma Yoga, all other yogas either give no results or degenerate into something opposite to themselves. Raja Yoga and Hatha Yoga degenerate into a search for external miracles, for the mysterious, for the terrible, that is, into pseudo-occultism. Bhakti Yoga degenerates into pseudo-mysticism, into superstition, into a personal adoration, or into a striving for personal salvation. Jnana Yoga degenerates into scholasticism, or at best, into metaphysics. Karma Yoga is always connected with the aim of inner development, of inner improvement. It helps man not to fall asleep inwardly amidst the entangling influences of life, especially in the midst of the hypnotizing influence of activity. It makes him remember that nothing external has any significance, that everything must be done without caring about results. Without Karma Yoga, man becomes absorbed in the nearest, the visible, aims and forgets the chief aim. Karma Yoga teaches man to change his fate, to direct it at will. According to the fundamental idea of Karma Yoga, this is attained only by altering the inner attitude of man towards things and towards his own actions. The same action can be performed differently. One and the same event can be lived through differently. And if a man alters his attitude toward what happens to him, this will in course of time inevitably change the character of the events which he encounters on his way. Karma Yoga teaches man to understand that when it seems to him that he himself is acting, in reality, it is not he who acts, but only a power passing through him. Karma Yoga asserts that a man is not at all what he thinks himself to be, and teaches man to understand that only in the very rare cases does he act of himself and independently, and that in most cases he acts only as part of one or another great whole. This is the occult side of Karma Yoga, a teaching concerning the forces and laws which govern him. A man who understands the ideas of Karma Yoga feels all the time that he is but a tiny screw or a tiny wheel in the big machine, and that success or failure of what he thinks he is doing depends very little on his own actions. Acting and feeling in this way, a man can never meet with failure in anything, because the greatest failure, the greatest unsuccess, may further success in his inner work, in his struggle with himself, if he only finds the right attitude towards his unsuccess. A life governed by the principles of Karma Yoga differs greatly from an ordinary life. In ordinary life, no matter what the conditions may be, the chief aim of man consists in avoiding all unpleasantness, difficulties, and discomforts, so far as this is possible. In a life governed by the principles of Karma Yoga, a man does not seek to avoid unpleasantness or discomforts. On the contrary, he welcomes them, for they afford him a chance of overcoming them. From the point of view of Karma Yoga, if life offered no difficulties, it would be necessary to create them artificially, and therefore the difficulties which are met with in life are regarded not as something unpleasant which one must try to avoid, but as very useful conditions for the aims of inner work and inner development. When a man realizes this and feels it constantly, life itself becomes his teacher. The chief principle of Karma Yoga is non-attachment. A man who follows the methods of Karma Yoga must practice non-attachment always in everything, whether to do good or to do evil, to pleasure or to pain. Non-attachment does not mean indifference. It is a certain kind of separation of self from what happens or from what a man is doing. It is not coldness, nor is it the desire to shut oneself off from life. It is the recognition and constant realization that everything is done according to certain laws, and that everything in the world has its own fate. From an ordinary point of view, the following of the principles of Karma Yoga appears as fatalism. But it is not fatalism in the sense of accepting of the exact and unalterable preordination of everything without the possibility of any change whatever. On the contrary, Karma Yoga teaches how to change the karma, how to influence the karma. But from the point of view of Karma Yoga, the influencing is an entirely inner process. Karma Yoga teaches that a man may change the people and events around him by changing his attitude towards them. The idea of this is very clear. Every man from his birth is surrounded by certain karma, by certain people and certain events. And in accordance with his nature, education, tastes and habits. He adopts a certain definite attitude towards things, people, and events. So long as his attitude remains unchanged, people, things, and events also remain unchanged. That is, corresponding to his karma. If he is not satisfied with his karma, if he wants something new and unknown, he must change his attitude towards what he has, and then the new events will come. Karma Yoga is the only way possible for people who are tied to life, who are unable to free themselves from the external forms of life, for people who either through their birth or through their own powers and capacities are placed at the head of human communities or groups, for people who are connected with the progress of the life of humanity, for historical personages, for people whose personal life seems to be the expression of the life of an epoch or a nation. These people cannot change themselves visibly. They can change themselves only internally, while externally remaining the same as before, saying the same things, doing the same things, but without attachment, as actors on the stage. Having become such actors in relation to their life, they become yogis in the midst of the most varied and intense activity. There can be peace in their soul, whatever their troubles may be. Their thought can work without hindrance, independently of anything that may surround it. Karma Yoga gives freedom to the prisoner in a jail and to the king on the throne, if only he can feel that they're actors playing their roles.